Well, it's good to have been around to do 50 years. I don't know where it all went, but it went. I actually started out more in news than I did in music, and then I was able to combine the two. The news job let me moonlight and do music. So when I was at WDAS doing news and editorials, I snuck over to WHYY and asked them if they needed any help. And I guess I came at a fortuitous time because they said, send us, tape, be work. I went back to the studio and made one, and they liked it. And I was there 20 years, every Saturday for 20 years, while I was also at WDAS. Then I got a penchant for writing, and I convinced the people at the Philadelphia New Observer, which was a tabloid back in the 70s and 80s, and I was able to do some writing for them for 23 years. So I didn't know that I could do one thing. So I wound up doing three simultaneously. Not showing off, but there's something I didn't think I could do or would ever do, because growing up in Philadelphia, we had you talk about Philadelphia musicians, we also had magnificent broadcasters. And I listened to these people before I got into radio, and I said, oh, I'll never be anywhere near that good, And it was just a latent dream. And one day I lucked out and walked into a radio station in Detroit. I had moved there. My two brothers were there doing quite well. I said, come on out, you might like it. And I could have had three jobs, a new arrival, new city. I could have had three jobs in a month's time. And one of those jobs was a radio job, sitting at a console, not saying anything, just turning knobs and bringing in remote broadcast and playing the spots from the studio. And one day something broke and I had to talk. And that opened the door. Been blabbing ever since. Well, if you like what you do and you feel that you are very fortunate to be doing it in the first place and for so long, there's nothing else to do but to be a helping hand to other people and help them like the people helped me unofficially. They didn't know that I was stealing from them, little sayings that they did. I remembered that when I moved to Detroit and got in radio. I remember what the great Philadelphia broadcasters were saying. And it was new to Detroit. They didn't know what was happening over here. Didn't know I was stealing until you get your own sea legs and, you feel like you can ad-lib on your own and maybe hold an audience. But a lot of people helped me and had no idea they were helping me. So, I guess the least that I can do is be a helping hand to someone else. You can have great music or a great anything, but if you don't have people behind you that support you and think well of you and even give you money, their hard-earned dollars, that's something. And they look around and see their dollars well spent, that you're doing a good thing with their money. The guy over there who is a little reticent, and he watches the other guy that gave, and you see what his money did for Jazz Bridge, so he jumps in too, Jazz Bridge says they could always need more help, but they've moved along by leaps and bounds from the 10 or 11 years that I remember when they started out. Where they get grants and people think well of them, they get awards and so forth. In this world today, sadly so, you need a lot of humanity. You need a lot of humanity, people helping people, because things get a little crazy sometimes. So I really admire and revere Jazz Bridge, and I'm awfully fortunate they chose me as the person to bestow this honor on. You never know who's listening. It could be one person. It could be, hundreds, maybe thousands. Um, the people who call and write letters and emails, they say the greatest things, sometimes it puts a little lump in your throat that someone would say something like that about a guy who's sitting behind a microphone playing music. Not heart surgery. It's not rocket science, but they think enough of you and what you're doing. And maybe it's not you. Maybe it's them. You catch them at the right time. Maybe at another moment they wouldn't call. But at that particular moment, in that solitude, you hit them, and they call you and say, "Wow, I hope you do this for whatever age you are. I hope you do it for another 50, 60, 70, 80 years, Your music is just wonderful. You're the best I've ever heard, And I said, I don't know about that, but I'll take the compliment. So it's very humbling sometimes to, that's sometimes what I think of mostly. What are they thinking? What's on their mind? It's almost like a musician playing an instrument. That person is playing their life for you. Where I've been, who I've seen, who loved me, who I loved, It's all encapsulated in a solo, maybe a 2 or 3 minute solo. And they can give it to you 50 times, and each time it'll be different. Right off the top of the noggin, That to me is magic. I've been around music for a long time, but I still don't understand it and know how they do it. That creative thing that they have, where they can play a Stella by Starlight or a Stardust and give it to you 50 times. Each time is different, and not a sheet of music involved. It's just them and the horn or the piano or the guitar, or whatever the case may be. It's beautiful, and it's a privilege to be able to play their music, on the air. If it weren't for them, I don't know what I'd be doing. I don't do too much else but radio.